Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 27th of November. This is the regular board meeting of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District. And so with that, determine we have a quorum. EJ Caldwell, you could do a roll call.
Yes, thank you very much, President Hughes. Director Don Deere. Here. Director Gloria Gray. Director Harold Williams. Here. Director Desi Alvarez. Here. President Scott Houston.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, next, Pledge of Allegiance. I didn't chat with anybody prior, so I'm just gonna randomly call on someone. I think I'll call on Mr. Matt Bay. Everyone, please rise.
Place your hand over your heart.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got me mixed up there, kid. Get ahead of me.
Thank you. Okay. Public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address the board?
Mr. President, we have not received any requests for public comment, though this meeting is being held both in person and virtually. If anybody would like to make public comment, please indicate so now. Indoors. So if anybody would like to speak. And virtually, if you'd like to speak, please indicate so by raising your virtual hand. And Mr. President, we do not have any requests.
Presentations, we have no presentations today. Items too late to be agendized. I'm not aware of any. Consent calendar, we have items 7A through G for our consent calendar. If someone has any polls, I would entertain a motion to move them all at one time.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Director Don Deere.
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray. Director Harold Williams.
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez.
Yes,
And Scott Houston.
Yes. Thank you. Next is our action calendar, item 8A, rescheduling of December board meeting. EJ.
Yes, thank you very much, President Houston. This item 8A, will be handled by Desiree Quintero, our Manager of Administration and our Board Secretary.
Good afternoon, board members. Item 8A begins on packet page 63. In December, the West Basin Municipal Water District's regular board meeting is scheduled to be held on Monday, December 18th, 2023. According to the admin code, the board shall hold regular meetings on the fourth Monday of each month at the district's headquarters at 17140 South Avalon Boulevard, Carson, California, at a time designated by the board. If the fourth Monday of the month is a district holiday, the regular board meeting will be held on the next business day, except for the holiday, in which case the regular board meeting will be held on the third Monday in December. So per the admin code, the board meeting is scheduled to be held Monday, December 18th. With the truncated schedule due to the Christmas holiday and the New Year holiday, staff recommends that the board consider rescheduling the regular board meeting to Wednesday, December 20th, 2023 at 1 p.m. That the board consider rescheduling the regular board meeting scheduled on Monday, December 18th, 2023 to Wednesday, December 20th, 2023 at 1 p.m.
Okay, great. Thank you, Desiree. Any questions?
I'll move the recommendation.
We got a motion. Is there a second? I'll second. Okay, any last discussion on moving date of our board meeting in December? None, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Director Don Deere.
No.
Director Gloria Gray. Director Harold Williams.
Pretty flexible, yes.
Director Desi Alvarez.
Yes,
President Scott Houston.
Yes. Okay, very good. Thank you. So we have a date for our board meeting in December. Okay, and by the way, I didn't see, I don't know if we've gotten a calendar yet for even January, February, March. But if you all, even though dates may change, can you produce one in the next couple of days so we can start populating the calendar? Okay. Thank you very much. Action item 8B is in boy, fiscal year 23-24 community outreach events.
Yes, thank you very much, President Houston. This item is related to a previous sponsorship for the El Camino College. And due to some circumstances, our sponsorship has changed. For this presentation, we have Hazel Vasquez, our Deputy Board Secretary 2.
The members of the board, if I can turn your attention to packet page 65, where this item begins. As EJ mentioned, is related to a sponsorship that was previously brought before you back in May for the El Camino College Foundation Community Partner Sponsorship. And that was to run through the entirety of the 23-24 school year in the amount of $2,500. Our benefit to meet the criteria of our sponsorship policy that would be given for that event was a booth, or I'm sorry, for that sponsorship would be a booth at an upcoming career fair held on their campus. Now, unfortunately, that career fair is no longer taking place as scheduled. So they have reached out and offered the opportunity to sponsor another one of their events, which is the 2024 Distinguished Alumni and Gratitude Awards event. And that is being held February 23rd, 2024. At this time, we are looking to switch over the same $2,500 that was previously approved, but apply it to the new event. And with that, there are a couple changes, as mentioned, with this, the approval of the previous sponsorship, previous approval of the sponsorship, we were getting a booth. Switching it over now would give us an advertisement for this event. That still does meet the criteria for the sponsorship policy. So that's why we're bringing that for your consideration today. You'll also note that, again, because it is for the same amount, there is no fiscal impact or no further fiscal impact, I should say, to that budget. We still have the same amount remaining. And so with that, I'd like to read the recommendation. Staff recommends that the board consider approving the sponsorship of the El Camino College's 2024 Distinguished Alumni and Gratitude Awards event to be held on February 23rd, 2024 in the amount of $2,500. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Hey, any questions?
As a self-styled distinguished alumnus of El Camino, I'll move the recommendation.
Got a motion on the floor, is there a second? Is there a second?
I have some questions.
I'll second it, so now we can have discussion. So we have a motion and a second. Go ahead, Director Albert.
Previously, what we had agreed to do was sponsor or participate in an event where it was a job fair. And they've canceled the job fair.
Right, the person that is, that oversees the program is out of office for an extended period. So they don't know when, we were still trying to hold off. They don't know when they'll be able to, when that person will be coming back and when they'll be able to actually host the event. So for the sake of not losing out on the sponsorship on both ends is why they're offering this change.
So this is basically honorary dinner type of event that now they're asking us to switch our sponsorship for.
Correct.
The big difference being there for a job fair where you're actually reaching out and able to talk to students and provide opportunities for people in the water industry versus being there at a dinner. So I view this as a big change. Alternatively, we could just buy a table and attend the dinner that way. With the sponsorship, do we get a table?
With the sponsorship, we do get a few tickets to that event. Specifically, I want to say that it's 6 tickets, but I can double check. It would be 6 tickets to the event.
And how much is a table?
A reserved table that includes 10 tickets is $1,250.
$1,250 versus 6 tickets for $2,500. The difference being that we get a logo placement in the program, and so on. I could support if we wanted a VIP reserve table, and if you would accept that as an amendment to your motion.
What's the difference in cost? Is there a difference
The
in cost?
difference in cost is one half. Table for 10 is $1,250. The Sapphire sponsor, which you only get 6 tickets to the event, is $2,500.
Well, we've already previously allocated $2,500 for the event, which is not held. And I think that was the reason for that amount of money. I see no reason to change the amount of money.
Oh, before it was also to reach out at a job fair where you would be having an opportunity, quite a few
It's a different
students.
event, I understand that.
And this is just one of those honorary events, not that they're not important, but it doesn't accomplish the same purpose and mission.
I'd like to accept.
Okay.
Can't hear you. What?
He's not gonna accept my amendment,
Sure.
so I will not be supporting the motion.
Okay, so let's, do you have a question?
Yeah, I didn't hear.
Oh, well, I was just gonna kind of reset. So Director Deere made a motion to accept staff recommendation that we just support this dinner with the authorized funds. And there's a second. Director Alvarez wanted to make an amendment or a friendly amendment or change the motion to support only by tables. Price. But here does not accept that. So we still back to staff's recommendation. So. More questions or?
Okay,
Well, I'll opine. I mean, I support what's been recommended, and the El Camino folks did approach us to say, look, this change happened. Here's what we would like to propose, which, by the way, it has other things in here built into the sponsorship. There's a program book ad. There's, a lot of the usual things. And also, I believe when we've done these sponsorships, we've actually gotten credit throughout the year with El Camino. It's not just a one-time thing. They actually throw our stuff in a lot of things, quite frankly. So, it is what it is. I think we should support, what they have graciously offered to us and what staff is recommending. So, any other questions?
so we do get the ads.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's right here. We still got a half-page ad, logo placement in the event program book, webpage and social media, logo placement in the evening video presentation.
That's the value there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Any other questions? Hearing none, go ahead and take a vote, please. Each.
Director Don Deere,
Yes,
Director Gloria Gray, Director Harold Williams,
yes,
Director Desi Alvarez,
No,
President Scott Houston.
Yes. Okay. Next item, 8C is in cat, contract operations for recycled water treatment facility.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. I'll be handling this item initially, though I do have several members of our staff here that are available to answer any questions that you might have. This next item, item 8C, begins on packet page 77. And as you mentioned, it does relate to the contract operations for recycled water treatment facilities. As you're aware, West Basin Municipal Water District currently contracts with Veolia Water Contract Operations USA for the operation and maintenance of its water recycling facility, the Edward C. Little water recycling facility, as well as our satellite facilities. This agreement is scheduled to expire on December 31st of 2024. In contemplation of this, in July of 2023, West Basin's Board of Directors authorized the establishment of a new ad hoc committee for matters regarding West Basin's facility operations. The committee met on October 23rd of this year, and the general manager held subsequent meetings with each of the committee members to discuss the process for developing a potential request for proposal or the document for the potential solicitation of the services. In the ad hoc committee meeting, West Basin staff did provide a potential schedule for activities in relation to a potential RFP process and did present a staff recommendation. At the conclusion of that meeting, the ad hoc committee did provide clear direction to West Basin staff. This included, one, to initiate discussions with Veolia to amend the agreement to extend for a period of 8 months and return to the West Basin Board of Directors for potential action. Two, to initiate discussions with West Basin's on-call consultants for assistance needed for the potential solicitation of O&M services. And three, to return to the board for potential action to initiate the RFP process. With the assistance of the West Basin's O&M on-call consultants and under the guidance of the committee, West Basin staff seeks to conduct the assessments, develop updated contract documents, and prepare for a thorough and transparent RFP solicitation process. It's important to note that upon meeting with the ad hoc committee, West Basin staff immediately moved into action and began to implement each of the directives that were provided by the ad hoc committee. The committee memo before you, including packet page 77, 78, and 79, provide a bit of an overview of that process. Very specifically, West Basin began working with our on-call contract services, specifically Hazen and Sawyer, to work on potential assistance as far as the RFP process would go. This would include the assistance of an expert in procurement of O&M services. You can see that the top of packet page 78, staff has discussed the contractual options and key considerations with the committee and requested the appropriate assessments be conducted in contemplation of a potential O&M services RFP. This included onboarding appropriate consulting services to assist with internal assessments and the RFP development, completing an audit, condition assessment, and draft contract scope and agreement terms by July 2024, and allowing appropriate time for vendor selection, contract negotiation, and agreement approval. And lastly, allowing for a potential 6-month transition period from March 2025 through August of 2025. As mentioned, West Basin can utilize the on-call services of Hazen and Sawyer to secure technical assistance throughout the potential RFP process. The ops support contract includes budget for as-needed support services, and it allows for West Basin staff to implement the use of their services in a quick and timely manner. The draft scope of services that we've received from Hazen and Sawyer include administration, workshops, and meeting time, date collection and technical information development, a comprehensive assessment to review and determine contract arrangements, drivers, requirements, scope allocation, risk allocation, performance framework, and approach to procurement, assistance with the preparation of RFP documents, and an optional task to perform a high-level condition assessment of recycled water treatment facilities. West Basin staff believes that all of these are required and necessary for a successful potential RFP process. With that, and after the conclusion at the meeting of the West Basin Facilities Operations Ad Hoc Committee, the committee recommended that the board authorize the general manager to extend the term of the current agreement with Veolia Water Contract Operations USA Incorporated for the operations and maintenance of West Basin's recycled water facilities for a period of approximately 8 months from December 31st, 2024 to August 31st, 2025. And I would like to add, at the direction of the ad hoc, West Basin staff, including myself, reached out to Veolia to see if they were amenable to a potential 8-year agreement. Those conversations had a bit of a back and forth as we wanted to make sure that the extension of the 8 months met our specific needs. At the conclusion of those discussions, Veolia did agree to extend that agreement for a period of 8 months per the draft agreement that we provided them. So at this time, that agreement is on hold. It's included as attachment 3 as part of this memo. Again, it would extend that the contract for a period of 8 months. This document was produced by our legal counsel and approved by our legal counsel. And so that is the item that is here for you today. And if you'd like, I'd be happy to reread the recommendation. The West Basin Facilities Operations Ad Hoc Committee recommends that the board authorize the general manager to extend the term of the current agreement with Veolia Water Contract Operations USA Incorporated for the operations and maintenance of West Basin's recycled water facilities for a period of approximately 8 months from December 31st, 2024 to August 31st, 2025. And with that, Mr. President, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you. So, any questions on this item? Mr. Director Alfred.
The purpose of the agreement is to help out and smooth out any transition should Viola not be the selected bidder when we go out to bid on this services contract. If that transition happens more smoothly than anticipated and it can be accomplished in 6 months instead of 8 months, are we committed to 8 months, or would this agreement recognize the fact that, in 6 months, that's all that's required?
With this extension, and again, the transition period allowed for, or as presented in the schedule that we provided to the ad hoc committee, the transition period would begin in March through August and would allow for that 6-month period. We anticipate that that time is needed. However, it's worth noting that we would not, if we decided to go with another company, of course, we would not have an overlap of the agreement. Veolia would be providing those services, so there wouldn't be additional costs borne on West Basin Municipal Water District because the contracts of the potentially two companies would not overlap. The transition will.
The transition will overlap, but the contracts will not. Notwithstanding that, the transition can be accomplished in 6 months or 5 months or 7 months instead of 8. Will the agreement terminate sooner, or are we bound for 8 months?
We would be bound to that 8 months, but I do want to, it's just a small technical difference. The transition is not that full 8 months. As we mentioned to the ad hoc committee, West Basin staff has presented a schedule and a plan for potentially going out to RFP, which we believe, based off of the current dynamics of the calendar, we're a few months behind schedule. And so, as I mentioned, that January, February period of that year and into March, we wouldn't be in that transition until that March period. So we know that 2 months minimally is required, and we believe that 6 months would provide ample opportunity for a successful transition.
I hear what you say, but I also am not in 100% agreement that we can't make up time, and you know that I believe that we need to accelerate the whole process and move forward more quickly instead of always saying, well, here's another obstacle in the way, let's eliminate the obstacle. So, and we will push to get this agreement done, or to get this process done in a more timely schedule than currently is being projected by staff. And if we're successful, then that transition may start in January as opposed to the end of February. And if the transition can be accomplished in 6 months, are we bound by 8 months?
We would be extending the term for that period of 8 months, and so we would be bound by that. It's worth noting that our current contract with Veolia is a time and material contract. So if there's any reduction in cost during that transition period, there would be potential savings for West Basin. But yes, the answer to your question is yes, we would be bound by that. And it's worth noting that I agree with you in the sense that we do need to be expeditious in this process. We need to make sure that we are doing it in a potentially, transparent and very detail-oriented manner. And so I would not be coming to the board with the recommendation of that 8-month extension if I did not feel it was needed for a successful potential process. And this, of course, will be decided by the West Basin Board of Directors. But that 8-month extension, I believe, is necessary for us to execute the potential documents. Negotiate those contracts, potentially execute them, and then have that 6-month period for a transition.
So the answer is yes,
You would be bound
to give them an additional 8 months, whether it's necessary or not. Your presumption is it will be necessary.
Correct.
will they consider a modification?
They have actually, as I mentioned, I did have the conversations with Viola. They did accept our modifications. They provided a couple of edits.
Well,
We
the
have-
modification in front of us is 8 months. Will they consider that if the transition goes more smoothly than anticipated and the full 8 months are not necessary, that then the extension does not have to be the full 8 months?
I do know that we have representatives of Viola here.
I see them in the audience. They might want to answer
I
that.
don't want to put them on the spot here, but if they would like to speak, they're happy to. I will tell you that all parties, in the best interest of the Edwards Little facility, should understand what they're bound to. And so having that specific date in there, I think is helpful. But I would, if Viola would like to comment, that'd be.
You can comment from your seat there, or you can go up to the podium. It's your choice. Oh, we're not super fancy here.
The question. Otherwise, like your question is, if it goes smoother
Yeah.
and we end the transition before, are we able to reconsider the time? It's difficult to answer right now because it's everything has to happen, and of course, when you plan against the deadline. So today, to give you that commitment, for me, it's going to be very difficult on the behalf of Veolia. When we transition out of the contract, we do everything that we can to make it a win-win, because you want to have a smooth transition and you want the new operator to tell you we're going to do it shorter when the contract is going to be allocated. We have a lot of variables into that equation. It would have also to include the legal department and our lawyers. I know that Joe, our vice president, also is here. Joe, if you want to step in.
Thank you, Sandrine. And Sandrine Dupuc is the Senior Vice President from Veolia. And on the line, directors, we have Joe Tackett, President from Veolia. Joe?
Can someone, please answer the question as quickly as possible, so we can keep talking and get moving.
Sure.
Please. Thank you. And I know Director Williams has a comment or question, so please, sir,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think that to answer the question, I do agree with EJ. To have a timetable of the 8 months gives everyone a hard date to work towards. Most importantly, though, when it comes to the staff at the project itself, it gives them a timeline as well. And I think when it comes to retaining employees and having that hard deadline and that timeline, it gives them something to look at as well. So if that fluctuates, or it could be a couple months sooner or a couple months later, folks start to get nervous.
So the answer to my question is no. Thank you.
Okay. Director Williams, you had a question?
Well, my question has been asked and answered. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, so here, well, personally, look, the ad hoc committee met, they provided instruction to staff. My understanding, obviously, staff talked to Veolia, has gotten us to the point. An 8-month extension makes a lot of sense to meet a lot of things that need to be accomplished between now and the end of the current contract. So I don't think we need to make it more complicated. I think we've got something in front of us that we need to move forward with, that both parties can agree to at this point. So I'm, no, Director Alvarez is giving me the look, but regardless, that's what I. Look. So let's go ahead, unless, does anybody have any other questions or comments on this? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. And I'll make the motion. So I make the motion to move staff's recommendation. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, so any last questions or comments? Hearing none, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray, Director Harold Williams.
yes.
Director Desi Alvarez. President Scott Houston.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you to everybody involved in that. Next item, 8, E as in dog. Consideration of resolution number 10-23-1198. Changes to the code of conduct. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much, President Houston. This item 8D begins on packet page 126. And this item might look familiar to you. We did bring it back through the Ethics Committee, of course, back, I believe, in October. And then followed up again with the full board. I believe that the changes and edits that were directed by the Board of Directors have been incorporated into the recommended ethics code provisions. And so with that, I'll just jump directly to those edits. If you can turn to packet page 130. We have made specific edits to make things hopefully more simple and more direct as far as how they read and of course how staff would implement this. You can see that there on packet page 130 for the travel authorization. Number 3 that begins our first edits. It's attendance at conference business meeting in state, but outside of the tax home. And this, of course, refers to an IRS Internal Revenue Services code that actually defines that as a 50-mile radius of district headquarters. So it's quite simple if we're going to be attending a conference and staying overnight within that radius of 50 miles, of course, by the rules and code provisions of the Internal Revenue Services Code, we would need to be taxed upon those. And you can see the director shall be entitled to lodging for each night of the conference meeting, plus 1 night's lodging for either 1 day prior to. So it's the same provisions that we've been abiding to. It's just a little bit more, I think, direct as far as the language goes. Number 4 there, attendance at conference and business meetings in state and within the tax home. For travel in state and within the tax home, you can see in directors shall be entitled to lodging for each night of the conference and meeting, plus 1 night's lodging for either 1 day prior or 1 day after the conference meeting. Such entitlement shall be subject to the imputed income provisions of the Internal Revenue Code. And so we tried to make sure that that was clear for the board of directors, and it was discussed, as I mentioned, at the last board meeting. If you turn to packet page 131 under O2, this was the item that the board of directors had provided feedback on, was the amount for reimbursement for business meals. You can see that district directors may recover expenses for meals that further the interests of the district, business meals, consistent with the below. Business meal expenses include the cost of meals, non-alcoholic beverages, applicable tax, and reasonable tip. You can see there under 2I that business meals for directors when there is no overnight travel, except as provided below in section V, 5, related to solo meals that are not reimbursable. The business meals, when no overnight travel is involved, directors have limits of $75 per meal and $75 per meal per guest. So that would increase the total amount reimbursable to $75 for you and any business-related guests. If you go to item 2I, business meals for directors when there is overnight travel. When overnight travel is involved, directors have a total meal limit of $110 per day for solo meals. When directors have business meals with third parties or pay for a guest, the limit is $75 per director and $75 per guest. The $75 for each director for business meal with others is in addition to the $110. So if while attending a conference, you happen to attend a business meal in furtherance of the district, each director would be allowed $75 as well as their business related guests, and that would not apply to the total $110 meal limit. And then if you look at 3I, you can see that documentation and travel companions, the director shall indicate the business purpose and how the expenditure is necessary to promote district policies and programs. A meal receipt must be accompanied by an itemized account of charges. If the restaurant does not provide a computerized itemized receipt, a handwritten itemized receipt may be used. The meal receipt must include a description of the business purposes of the meal. And then, of course, all related information there will remain the same. You can see at the top of packet page 132. And then, of course, the next three provisions, again, are all the same. Item 4 is no reimbursement when meal is provided. If directors are attending a conference and the lunch is there, obviously the district will pay for it. 5, no reimbursement for solo director meals for their if no overnight travel. Expense for solo meal, director only, incurred when there is no overnight travel will not be reimbursable. Section IRC, section 119. Reimbursement will be paid for a business meal furnished by director to another person, even where there is no overnight travel. If overnight travel is involved, all business meals are reimbursable, regardless of whether the director is solo or with a guest. So again, if it's a business related meal, the $75 will be the limit. And item 6, director obligation to reimburse for unauthorized meal expenses. If a director requests a meal reimbursement in a manner that does not comply with the requirements of this policy, receives reimbursement from the district, the director must reimburse the district any amounts received within 30 days notice. So that concludes the section as applied to the business meals. If you turn to packet page 133, there were a couple of edits made to the per diem allowable meetings. You can see item L, Association of California Water Agencies, Region 8, and committee meetings. Again, this is just an oversight on our previous code. Did not allow for reimbursement if you served on one of the Aqua committee meetings. We made a few small edits to the Chambers of Commerce down in P. You can see that we've removed commerce.
Why is that?
I believe it's because we are no longer participating in that chamber.
And they're not in West Basin.
And then we've added Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce, and we've added the South Bay Association of Chambers of Commerce, which is a collective organization. Lastly, if you fall all the way down to item LL, we've added Los Angeles County Business Federation and BizFed. So with these edits, we have included a resolution. It's included on packet page 135. It's resolution number 10231198 for your consideration. And with that, I'll read the recommendation. Staff recommends that the board consider adopting resolution number 10231198, resolution of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, amending resolution number 1161024, Administrative Code, as it relates to the travel and authorization and authorized expense sections and Exhibit 1 of the Code of Conduct. And with that, Mr. President, I'm happy to answer any questions. Though I will note that I do have several members of West Basin staff here if I need assistance.
Okay,
Very good. Okay, you have a question? Go ahead, Director Allen.
I have a question, and last time we considered this, it applied across the board for the policy, both to board members and to staff. This time, if I understand this correctly, it is being brought back only for board members and not for staff. So why is that?
I would make one small change to the way you characterize it. When we brought it to the board last time, we actually brought two simultaneous actions with two resolutions. One was related to the directors and one was related to staff. As part of that discussion, it was raised that a member of the board of directors had certain concerns or thoughts as to how that was applied to staff universally. With that in mind, as we finalize these documents, I made a determination that we would hold that item and bring it back through our Finance and Administration Committee for the committee and board to provide specific input on how this applies to staff. I don't feel that the board of directors had that opportunity to really discuss how it was applied to staff. So at this time, we're just going to bring this item first. If the board so chooses to adopt the resolution, we'll make that edit in the code. And then at the December F&A committee, we'll be bringing a standalone item similar to this, but how it applies to staff.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Um, First of all, I'll move the item. A second.
Second.
Second, thank you. And on that note, EJ, when do you anticipate the staff side
Yeah.
items to come forward?
At December, Finance Administration Committee.
Very good. Okay, any other questions? I do want to commend the staff and our legal counsel for helping us work our way through this. Things that we thought were going to be somewhat easy ended up complicated. So here we are again, and also fixing some interesting errors that have been in that code for a while. So with that, we'll do a vote. We'll call a vote.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray, Director Harold Williams,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez,
Yes,
President Scott Houston.
Yes. All right, thank you, EJ. Okay, moving into the information calendar, there's items 9A through E. Now I'm gonna pull the first two, 9A and B. A couple questions. I don't want to pull presentation. Talk about that in a moment. So are there any other polls from this information calendar? Most of these were not heard.
I'll move the rest of the information calendar.
So Director Alvarez moved 9C, E. Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
We have information calendar. Right here. Right, am I right there?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, make sure I'm accurate. Okay, so let's go ahead and, guess we'll take the vote on those.
Correct.
Those three items, EJ's 9, E, and E.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray, Director Harold Williams,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez,
Yes,
President Scott Houston.
Yes. Okay, I just wanted to pull a couple, because I've had questions on items in each of A and B. So in A, the fire escaping workshop, page 149 of the board packet. What I wanted to say, and relating to there too in the beginning, I think all the partners involved did an excellent job putting together that workshop. So I'm sorry that, we didn't get to hear that in committee, but I did want to make sure you're acknowledged properly. And the question I did have was, the local TV, television, or what have you, that they were there. Did their story ever come out?
Yeah, so, thank you, Director, for mentioning the fire escaping class. So yes, there was a part of their regular news segment, and then just today we got a second segment, which they featured more of the interviews. And so we'll make sure that the board has both of those links, that both are published.
Okay, good. And did they record the whole session or not? Or I don't know.
So in the first link that I mentioned, they did more or less. And
Mhm.
so they present, I think, I can't remember if it was 25 minutes, the full video.
It was like 45.
45 minutes. So basically they broadcasted it, edited it down transitional moments, but gave the majority of the key content there. So it was definitely wonderful to have them there, and should be that, to capture those moments. So I would say pretty much. And then the second link, again, just to receive today, I haven't had a chance to look at it. It's supposed to be more in terms of like the sidebar interviews that the reporter conducted before the event actually started.
Okay, so these are being broadcast on their channel up there.
Yeah, RPD TV.
Wonderful. So what I would just ask would be if one, you all could just send the links and the notes to the full board, of course. And then number two, I don't know what we can post on our own site and or our YouTube channel or a link, whatever, but if you all could look at that, I think that would be great.
And our website is up to date. It has the PowerPoint. It has all the resources that we shared there, including from our guests. And so the missing link that needs to be updated are the RPV TV links now that both are available. So that can be updated, and then I'll look into how we share that on YouTube.
That'd be great. So theoretically now folks can go to our own website and they would find access to the presentation materials, et cetera, et cetera. And you all, I suppose, emailed. I think some of the folks asked us to email them post information, correct?
That's
Good. Any questions on that?
No, I'd just like to say that I hope we don't do anything less than what we did on the first, when was that? We did that during the pandemic.
One in Malibu, I believe it was, both, that was virtual as well, right? That's, so yeah, two were virtual. This is our first in-person version.
Right. Okay, so hopefully we don't do less than we did there.
Here. Oh, what we presented?
Presented.
Well, we did way more. We got.
I know, but I'm.
Keep that level of excellence. Got it.
No, I just wanted to, again, poll this because first of all, it really was an excellent event. I mean, how many of our folks did show up that night on a weeknight afternoon? I think the clocks had the clocks already changed by then?
No,
Not quite, but it gets dark early still. So we had folks who came out, and stuck around the whole time. Nobody was running away. And, whether it was 20 plus pushing 30 people, give or take on a Wednesday night, a lot of really good questions from the audience and dialogue, and opened up some really interesting comments from some of the residents too. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who was involved, including, I think it was also, of course, the city, Rancho Palos Verdes, and they hosted us. Cal Water, LA County Fire was there. So obviously our staff and our instructor. So I just wanted to make sure that that got noted properly, as well as follow up on that. I thank you, Amy, for that update, television folks. Okay, my next question in this one was on page 153. And actually, this is not a question. This is a comment. It says that we received a certificate from Special District Leadership Foundation. Right? What I'm reading proper here. So it says that Desiree accepted this, I think, on our behalf. So this was at the California Special. Well, they'll tell us what this was real brief.
The California Special Districts Association Board Secretary Conference was held, and that's where they presented the certificate.
Yeah. So when West Basin was presented a district transparency certificate of excellence. So thank you very much for being on our behalf. Does it get displayed somewhere? Probably over there.
On the table right outside the doors.
Very good. So, didn't want to pass that by, Ms. Desiree. Thank you very much, and to staff who makes this happen. And then I'm going to jump to 9B, the monthly conservation programs update. I had, I guess, it'd be 2 questions or comments. One is, we did the Rain Barrel event in Malibu, guys, with our Malibu Boys and Girls Club, and I couldn't be there. I was out of town that weekend. From all accounts, it went well, but we gave away all the barrels, I believe, correct? We did all 100? About an hour. Okay. And I saw the mayor of Malibu was there, and you had the city of Malibu folks, you had the Boys and Girls Club. It looked like, and a line of cars, it looked like a great event. So I just want to say thank you for that. Any noteworthy people that came from way far that you guys happen to talk to or not? I don't know.
It's Mark PV, I think a couple of people there, but the majority, the folks on the list were from Malibu, Topanga. I'd say 98% of them.
Very good, because I remember the last time we did one up there, somebody did drive up from Palos Verdes and got a barrel. So apparently that happened again.
We're in the barrel.
Right? So that's that. And then secondly, Gus, so Culver City, we have the last event is this Saturday. And with the Rotary Club. And we only have 200 barrels to give away, I hope. Okay.
Correct.
And I think we have more than enough people from the numbers I saw.
We did. We met our goal of 230 RSVPs.
Okay.
Working with our public information department, city, and all our partners, getting the word out. So we're expecting a lot of folks to show up. We do get about a 30 to 40% no-show rate, as you know, if we register and they don't show up. That's why we have a little bit more of a buffer, about 230. So I'm pretty confident we will give away all 200 girls this Saturday. I just speak with Heather Witt. Yep. And everything's looking good there. She's rounding up the volunteers. For that event this Saturday.
Okay, excellent. And I'll be there that morning too. So I want to say thank you in advance to everybody who's involved with that. And my last question was page 179 on grass replacement. I guess it's really not a question, it's a comment. Because I see that we're continuing to get people to participate, although I did see that my Division 4 numbers are a little lower, which usually is not quite the case. So I just would like to, have staff see how we can maybe push that out a little bit more in some of the Division 4 cities to catch them up a bit. I don't think people need to lose sight of that, of course, and then it's going to be rainy season, so a lot of things going on. But the staff would continue pushing hard on numbers across all 5 divisions. But maybe you look again at Uganda, Wiseburn, and Culver City in particular, and see if you guys can tweak some things to get some more action. But otherwise, things are going great with that program. So thank you. Okay, so with that, anybody else have questions on those 2 items? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and make a motion to approve those receiving file information.
I move to receive and file.
Second. Motion and a second. Any last discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray, Director Harold Williams,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez,
Yeah.
President Scott Houston.
Thank you, all 4 of you. For good faith there. Okay, so now receive and file item 10. I'll entertain a motion on file. Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Peter. All right, any questions? Hearing none. Your roll call vote.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray, Director Harold Williams,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez,
Yes.
President Scott Houston.
Yes. Okay, general manager's activities report. EJ.
Yes, thank you very much, President. West Basin staff has made copies for all those board members that are here with us today. I also had an opportunity to email that out, but it was just before this meeting. So all of you should have it in your inboxes as well.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for our general manager this time? Don't have a question. I just looked through it myself. I see you were very, very busy this past month, EJ. And some of these, you were there when I was there, Director Williams was there, and others. So I want to say thank you for all of that, including the fire escaping workshop and other things. And by the way, you attended our South Bay Cities Council of Governments volunteer recognition dinner. And I'll please be there. I don't know who else, if anybody else there, but thank you on behalf of West Basin for recognizing the volunteers that help us at the COG.
No, thank you very much for pointing that out, President Houston, because I did want to mention Gus Meza, obviously. He was there with me that evening, and it's really impressive always to hear the comments from all of the volunteers that attend our events and help us out, just because they want to help us out, which is great. But the comments that they make about working with West Basin staff has always been something that's exciting to hear. And Gus Mays, of course, gets a lot of recognition from all those volunteers. But there are a number of different staff members that were also included in some of those positive comments, including some of our former employees. So it's great to hear that from the volunteers.
Thank you. And before I move on, you also were at the Southern California Water Coalition's annual dinner. I was there as well. Prior speaker, and then was there as a keynote, but it was really good because it was a very packed event. I mean, they sold out all the tickets they could. The whole SoCal water community was there. So I'm really glad that some of our staff was there. EJ were able to make it down to Orange County. But just want to acknowledge that. And so thank you, EJ. Very thorough report. General Counsel's report.
Yeah, other than what's in closed session, I have nothing for open session.
Thank you. AB 1234 reporting compliance. Does anybody have anything to report? Or if you do, you can put it in writing. And I'll just do mine real quick. So since the last board meeting, October 25th, I attended our Basin ad hoc committee meeting. On the 1st of November, Congress member Adam Schiff's staff toured the EDC Little Water Recycling Facility, and I was there for that. Excellent. We love hosting our elected officials or their staff at our plant and give them a briefing. Thank you, or Kevin, others who were there. Amy. On the 3rd of November, I spoke at the Torrance Del Amo Rotary Club. I was invited to speak to that club. And on the 11th of November, I spoke at the Culver City Exchange Club Veterans Day ceremony. We were one of the sponsors, but also it was just a great community event. Yeah, participate, of course, honor our veterans. So, thank you to those of you who have served. All right, so with that, we're going to move into closed session.
You got to say that we're going to go into closed session for the items stated on the agenda. I will note that the one item 14B is a class action related to PFAS and 3M and DuPont. And the reason why I'm noting it ahead of time is that every water provider literally in the country is implicated by the settlement, and that's why it's appearing on our agenda.
Great, thank you, Joe. So with that, we're going to move into closed session. Director Alvarez, you're good?
Good. I'm no good, but I'm good.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna come back into open session. I'm gonna call you city attorney. I keep getting mixed up. Somebody over here. Mr. Water District Attorney, if you could.
Happy to. We had closed session on the items that are listed on 14B. Board by unanimous 4-0 vote, voted to opt out of the settlement with 3M and DuPont. That will be reflected in the minutes, and there was no other action that was taken during closed session.
Very good. Thank you, legal counsel. All right. Last item on our agenda here. Director comments and future agenda items. So at this time, if anyone has comments, future agenda item, now's your chance. Director Deere?
Mentioned the very sad event that occurred this week. Are you gonna do that?
Yes, at the end, yes. Adjournment, yes.
We're gonna adjourn in memory of
Mr. Leonard,
Mr. Leonard Tibbs, who passed away this week. Very fine gentleman.
Excuse me, yeah, we're gonna do that. Director William, any comment?
No, I don't.
Director Alvarez?
I do have a future agenda item I would like to have brought back to the board at the January meeting. I would like to bring back a mid-year budget review. And I'd like the mid-year budget review to go through the end of December.
Director Alvarez.
That is the second quarter and maybe the books will not have been closed for the second quarter. But they will be close enough that you can bring back comprehensive mid-year budget review in January.
Yeah, very
Why,
good.
he brought it up a notch.
Oh,
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
oh, okay, great. Okay. Let's see, and I will do that. We have 2 adjournments, but prior to that, I'll just say, my request to staff was there were a number of leadership changes that just got announced in Sacramento. Right after Thanksgiving, or not, right before Thanksgiving, sorry, right before Thanksgiving, TJ, I'm sure you guys are aware of it. If you can, is there a way you can provide some sort of just an output to the board? Just some things, a bunch of people got shuffled.
Yeah, that's-
Committees, including one of our own members away, so I think it'd be good if you all could.
We'll provide an email as soon as possible, and then we'll also include that in the December water policy and legislation.
So, and just so you know, the new speaker is starting to move people around, so committees are changing, leadership changing, and a whole slew of announcements came out on, I think it was Tuesday, so right before the holiday. And, you know, I think in some ways things still are beneficial to West Basin, but obviously our staff needs to let us know, and I think it'd be good to hear it sooner than the policy committee, and then you can get the details then. Thank you for that, EJ. And with that too, I just want to say, I think overall though, it's, you know, it was a very productive meeting. A lot of information has come through this board. You know, we're already in November, so I just want to put that out there. Thanks to staff and everyone involved. Much appreciated. Now with that, we have 2 adjournments, and I'll begin with a person that Director Williams has brought to our attention, Queen Esther Torrent, who was a member of the Parsons Valley Club. Correct. And so she has passed away. Yes. And we want to adjourn in her memory. And then Director Deere mentioned it, excuse me, that unfortunately Leonard Tibbs has passed away, who was Director Gray's longtime partner. And all of us knew Mr. Tibbs in different ways over the years. And myself, I'm really grateful I had those opportunities to speak him. I think last year at Crua, and then Director Gray in the Inglewood seat, some other things. So I I've gotten to see him because he's had his health challenges, but that's obviously why Director Gray is not with us today. But Mr. Tibbs, I think, was a friend to everybody on the board, let alone a lot of our staff knew him over the years and was a good supporter of Director Gray and all of our endeavors. So Mr. Tibbs will be missed. We don't know more details at this point. I'm sure we'll find out, but we do want to adjourn in his memory. And unless anybody has anything else to add.
No, thank you.
All right, and our next board meeting, we scheduled the date. The next board meeting will be December 20th of 2023. So with that, we're adjourned.
So,